welcome back to the Mintner Method. I'm your host, Andrew Mintner, and on today's episode, we're going to dive into a subscriber-wanted matchup between Tulane and UAB. So this is not a game I had on my radar this week, as neither of these teams fit kind of the trends that I'm looking at and that I'm tracking in the majority of my plays. But because one of you guys wanted it to be looked at, I'm more than happy to dive in and do a mashup and kind of give you my opinion on it. So right off the bat, looking at the early downs matchups, you can see that Tulane is obviously better, and they excel in areas where UAB is going to struggle, especially offensively. 28th in early down EPA on passing the ball. They're basically average 75th, and then just extremely bad against the rush. Tulane is not fantastic running the ball on early downs. They do like to run the ball, though. 65% of the time they're on the ball on early downs. So something to keep in mind there. This could be a matchup where they improve their efficiency, being that UAB is abysmal. When we come to the offensive side of the ball, there's not really much to note from an early downs for either team, especially UAB. They're average in passing, below average in rushing, below average overall. Tulane is just kind of like, they're just hanging in there, like an average, group of five type of defense, which they are having just an absolute resurrection in the American Athletic Conference. And I have to say that I am surprised with how well they've done based on their returning production being very, very low and then losing their entire coaching staff. I am impressed. They were not a team that I was picking to compete for a championship, even though I felt like they would be a tough out. They just didn't check any of the boxes that I really liked. Now, when we look at the advanced statistics, you're going to see some big discrepancies, especially offensively for Tulane. So they're 27th in overall efficiency, predicted points per attempt, and 10th in explosiveness. So UAB is actually decent at limiting explosiveness, but don't let that kind of fool you. Now, we covered UAB last week when they played Navy and just got absolutely demolished. And they just, they checked all the boxes of the type of team we want an academy team to face. And to nobody's shock, they just got destroyed, and it was not even close. So they carry those horrendous statistics into this matchup. 121st in stuff rate, 133rd in defensive line yards, just terrible in overall havoc, just all these things, right? The most eye-opening, I would say, for me is going to be the explosiveness allowed passing the ball. 95th in explosiveness allowed versus a team that is very explosive throwing the ball in Tulane. And we've kind of seen that over the last couple weeks. Like when you take a look at who they've played, realistically, they should have beat Kansas State. They fizzled out against Oklahoma, and then, they were able to beat Lafayette and just absolutely destroy South Florida. Now, this is back to the advanced statistics here. That is an area that I think UAB, last week they were completely taken advantage of on the ground, but, when you're bad defensively, you're bad everywhere usually. So, this is just another matchup where they could possibly get absolutely, destroyed through the air. Now, on the offensive side of the ball, much like last week when we had discussed this, they do not do a lot of things that really stand out that you need from an offense to cover in certain areas or make a game competitive. They're not explosive. Offensive line is decent. We will give them that. But, again, not explosive, okay efficiency, 51st, 88th. And I think they're going to struggle here probably just in general because, I know these are two American. I think UAB's in the American still. Let me see. They're in the conference. No, they're in the American. The teams just, or no, hold on. I'm sorry, guys. My bad. Yeah, they're in the American. So many teams moving around left and right. But this is one thing that a lot of people don't take into consideration, even when looking at group of five teams, and comparing them to each other. Tulane's recruiting record as a group of five is just infinitely better than like UAB. And so that's kind of like more of what you look at when you're like, oh, well, this is like, Oklahoma is going to play, Southern Miss. You can't compare these type of recruiting, right? Well, it's like kind of the same. When you're looking at the top end recruits in Power 5 or Power 5 recruiting teams, or group of 5 recruiting teams, like there's a very, very wide margin in difference when it comes to talent. And that showed on the field. I really personally had thought South Florida was going to be really good this year, and Tulane just ripped through them like they were nobodies. And they're not nobodies. They're actually decent, So when I look at a game like this, even though it's not on my radar for something I'm going to like dive into, there's just like absolutely no way you could convince me to take UAB in the points here. Now, that doesn't mean that like, oh, it's a slam dunk. You have to take Tulane, and I believe they're 14.5 point favorites. Because, shit happens. It's on the road. Tulane's coming off an insane 4-week schedule of, you're coming off Kansas State, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Lafayette, and South Florida. Like, they split those games. They went 2-2 and arguably should have beat Kansas State. You put any other group of 5 team in that 4-game schedule, they're going to struggle to win 2 games, let alone be competitive in all 4. So that's just kind of the angle here, right? Even that, like, we don't have to make a play on every single game because that's just bad practice, that's bad process. But like, how in the actual hell would you like back UAB here? Like, what possible reasonings could you come up with outside of them having like a turnover-ridden game or some type of fluky scoop and score, pick six, punt return for a touchdown type game where like all 3 units get into it? I don't know how they're going to keep pace. That I don't understand. And the other thing is, there's nothing to look ahead to for Tulane. It's not like this is a trap game. They got a bye week next week. So like there's nothing to look ahead to. There's no major games coming up, at least in the recent or the foreseeable future. They're down the road. So that's my take on this game. I feel like it's either Tulane or nothing here. I personally will not be playing it. I have just a litany of other games I'm looking at. But from a process standpoint, there is no reason to make a case for UAB. Even though that is part of the process, you try to make that case because you need to be unbiased. But I just don't see it. I don't see it. It will more than likely be a absolute bloodbath. All right, so that's going to be it for today's video, today's episode. As always, if you enjoy the content, please like the video, please subscribe to the channel, comment, share it with friends, loved ones, anyone you think who would be interested in what we're doing here. It means a lot. This is an extremely small channel at the very beginning of its origin. And I really enjoy doing the videos. I try to do as many as I can a week. I'm trying to implement another video for NFL props, which we've done really well on. Haven't really shared them with anybody who's not my friend. But, I will have another UFC video for the pay-per-view this week. It's a long list of stuff. But if you have anything that you would suggest that you would like to be covered, you can put it in the comments. I'd be more than happy to try to fit it in my schedule. This is one of those videos that a subscriber asked me to do a breakdown on. And, I try to do the best I can to fit everybody into the schedule. Well, that's going to be it. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.